Welcome to the Top 10 of 10. Today is June the 17th, 2014. I'm your host, Dan Wright, writer of FireDogLake.com, and these are the top 10 news stories. Start here. Story number 10, this is from Politico. Kochs launched new super PAC for midterm fight. During a closed-door gathering of major donors in Southern California on Monday, the political operation spearheaded by the Koch brothers unveiled a significant new weapon in its rapidly expanding arsenal, a super PAC called Freedom Partners Action Fund. The new group aims to spend more than $15 million in 2014 midterm campaigns, part of a much larger spending effort, expected to total $290 million. Jeez. That's a pretty, the Koch brothers are planning to spend 290, or at least Koch brothers in their sort of, I guess, partnerships. They have a lot of these meetings where they all get together and talk about how they're going to, I guess, take over the world. So they're going to spend, I guess, $290 million in 2014 midterms. Good Lord. Back to the story. It's an evolution for billionaire industrialist Charles and David Koch. The vast network of political nonprofit groups they helped build has mostly funneled its unprecedented political spending into issue-based campaigns that usually slam Democrats for supporting big government, but seldom explicitly ask voters to support GOP candidates. Yeah, because the Supreme Court gutted a lot of these laws preventing them from doing that. That's expected to change under Freedom Partners Action Fund, according to Mark Short, president of Freedom Partners Chamber of Commerce, an increasingly powerful force in the Koch network that will operate in association with the new super PAC. The Freedom Partners Action Fund will support candidates who share our vision of free markets and a free society, and oppose candidates who support intrusive government policies that push the American dream out of reach for the American people. Okay, so. Oh, this is what I was thinking about before. The gathering is the latest in a series of twice-annual so-called seminars that the Koch started holding in 2003 to raise cash from wealthy donors after treating them to a series of slickly produced presentations from hand-picked politicians, conservative media stars, and operatives from Koch-backed groups. So we'll read the full story over at Politico. It looks like the Koch brothers here. I mean, this is just so blatant and so shameful, but here, we're going to get together and try to buy some elections. Cool. Story number 9. Eric Cantor's defeat exposed a Beltway journalism blind spot. This is from the New York Times, David Carr. It's now clear why the primary defeat of the House Majority Leader, Eric Cantor, came so completely out of the blue last week. Beltway blindness that puts a focus on fundraising, power brokering, and partisan back and forth created a reality distortion field that obscured the will of the people. But that affliction was not Mr. Cantor's alone. It is shared by the political press. Reporters and commentators might want to pause and wipe the egg off their faces before they go on camera to cluck about how Mr. Cantor, Republican of Virginia, missed signs of the insurgency that took him out. There was a lot of that going around, and the big miss by much of the political news media demonstrates that news organizations are no less a prisoner of Washington's tunnel vision than the people who run for office. Boom. Those are two paragraphs that are pretty brutal on the DC press, which is, I mean, the state press associations are never particularly good either. I don't know. People just hate the media, me too. But the DC press is particularly disgusting for different reasons, mostly because they're corrupt and they have no values. All politics is local, which may explain why the Richmond Times-Dispatch and the Chesterfield Observer both took David Bratt's Tea Party challenge to Mr. Cantor seriously, but few of the publications inside the district that followed the majority leader's every wiggle and wobble sensed that he was leaving the home fires dangerously unattended. There are a number of dynamics, political, cultural, and economic at work. Congressional races are a mess to cover because there are so many of them. And this year, the House of Representatives is not in play, while the Senate most definitely is. The math of covering someone who may become one of only 100 senators is far easier. The same forces that keep politicians penned up within a few blocks of Pennsylvania Avenue work on journalists as well. No one wants to stray from the white-hot center of power for fear of being stuck in some forsaken locale when something big happens in Washington. which is why it has become one of the most over-covered places on Earth. That is a key point right there. Over-covered. So read the rest of it over at the New York Times. Story number 8. This is also from Politico. Dinesh D'Souza, Obama thinks U.S. evil. Oh, man. Conservative author Dinesh D'Souza baffled Megyn Kelly on Monday night with an analogy that compared the United States to a child-molesting father. Appearing on Fox's The Kelly File to promote his book America, Imagine a World Without Her, and film titled America, D'Souza said President Barack Obama believes in American exceptionalism, but instead of believing that we're exceptionally good, believes we're exceptionally evil. When Kelly asked if D'Souza meant to accuse the president of not loving the country, D'Souza made an uncomfortable comparison. Oh God, here we go. I know what's coming. I really don't want to read this, but I guess I kind of have to. Look at it this way, he said. If I was in a family and I believed my dad was some kind of serial killer or a child molester, I would still love him. He would be part of my family. But I'd do anything I could to prevent him from doing evil actions. I would think that would be good for the world and for my dad. So with Obama, he believes he is doing the world a favor and America a favor by controlling this rogue elephant that is the United States. So America is the child molester in this scenario? Kelly asked. I was trying to follow Dinesh. I think we've fallen off the deep end. Dinesh explained that he thinks Obama sees those who are fighting against the U.S. as freedom fighters who are trying to liberate themselves from the grasp of American power. The filmmaker made headlines in May after entering a guilty plea where he was charged with making $20,000 in illegal contributions in 2012 to Wendy Long, a Republican Senate candidate. Through the use of straw donors, D'Souza could face 10 to 16 months in prison, and is not happy about that. Let me just move on. Story number 7 from Medium, Melissa Byrne. Don't drink Starbucks free college PR stunt. Starbucks free college, unquote, is really free PR. Today, Starbucks announced their cutting-edge, game-changing free college program for their baristas. Except it's not cutting-edge or game-changing, and it's not really free. No. If that's all. Starbucks is switching out their traditional partial tuition and reimbursement program to one that forces their employees to attend one college, and an online college at that, if they want to get help paying for college. Pause. Yes, no longer do Starbucks employees have the free choice to attend the college that is best for them, and a college that is their choice if they want their company to help them further their education. Instead, Starbucks will tell them to go to Arizona State University's online program, or they are good old shit out of luck. So, Starbucks bullshitting, and I'm sure nobody's going to cover that. But, yes. Oh, free college. Okay, they'll write about maybe a free college thing, but they'll miss the details, as is typical of corporate press. Story number 6. This is from Gawker. Here's the FBI's official guide to Twitter slang. The FBI knows that laughing my ass off means, according to an internal manual released today under the Freedom of Information Act to the Open Records website Muckrock. The Bureau also knows what other acronyms mean, so beware, the feds have cracked Twitter slang, or think they have. With the advent of Twitter and other social media venues, the manual begins, the use of shorthand and acronym has exploded. The DI's Intelligence Research Report Unit put together an extensive but far from exhaustive list of shorthand and acronyms used on Twitter and other social media venues such as Instant Messages, Facebook, and MySpace. The 83-page manual, damn, this thing is 83 pages, which is titled Twitter Shorthand, contains about 2,800 terms, including common ones like seriously, shakes my head, less common ones like screenshots or it didn't happen, and even less common ones with the aforementioned, and now a word from our sponsor, and the end of the world as we know it, and if I tell you what this means, will you buy me a drink? Okay. All right, then. I'm just going to move on. Story number 5. Oh, this is from the New York Times, but it's on CNBC. Okay. Study asserts startling numbers of insider trading rogues. There is often a tip. Before many big mergers and acquisitions, word leaks out to select investors who seek to covertly trade on the information. Stocks and options move in unusual ways that aren't immediately clear. Then news of the deal crosses the ticker, surprising everyone except for those already in the know. Sometimes the investor is found and is prosecuted, sometimes not. That's what everyone suspects, though until now the evidence has been largely anecdotal. Now a groundbreaking new study finally puts what we've instinctively thought into hard numbers, and the truth is worse than we imagine. A quarter of all public company deals may involve some kind of insider trading, according to a study by two professors at the Stern School of Business at New York University and one professor from McGill University. The study, perhaps the most detailed and exhaustive of its kind, examined hundreds of transactions from 1996 through the end of 2012. There you go, insider trading, it's a way of life. Story number 4. Go away. Oh, you bastard. I'll never do this again. So there was supposed to be a story here about okay. Well, whatever. I'm just going to move on. Story number 3. Damn you, paywall. Obama to sign executive orders protecting LGBT federal contractors from the Washington Post. Blah, 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 blah. 2 years ago, I urged President Obama not to punt on signing executive order barring discrimination by federal contractors. Today, the White House announced he finally decided to listen to me. Jesus, could this guy be any more full of himself? Of course, I'm being cheeky. Okay. Credit for today's news belongs squarely with those lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender LGBT rights groups that have been pushing for this action publicly and privately all these years. Language for the federal contractor executive order reportedly had been in the president's inbox since February of 2012. Rather than sign it, Obama opted to push for the passage of the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, which would make it illegal under federal law to discriminate in the workplace. Under normal circumstances, this kind of more permanent legislative solution would be the way to go. And of course, this was the same path pursued by Obama in dismantling the ban on gays and lesbians serving in the military. But ENDA has suffered the same fate as most legislation in Congress. It's gone nowhere. So I guess the executive order won't be terribly earth-shattering. The private sector has been protecting LGBT workers for years now. According to Human Rights Campaign, nearly 90% of the Fortune 500 prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation, and almost 60% prohibit it based on gender identity. And according to a confidential memo given to then Representative Barney Frank last year by the Williams Institute and the Center for American Progress, the impact of an executive order on federal contractors will be minimal. But hey, it's better than nothing. Story number 2. From Bloomberg, wealthy Clintons use trust to limit estate tax they back. Bill and Hillary Clinton have long supported an estate tax to prevent the U.S. from being dominated by inherited wealth. That doesn't mean they want to pay for it. To reduce the tax pinch, the Clintons are using financial planning strategies befitting the top 1% of U.S. households and wealth. These moves, common among multimillionaires, will help shield some of their estate from the tax that now tops out at 40% of assets upon death. I thought they were dead broke. Remember when they left? They left the White House. We're dead broke. You can only give $1 million speeches and sell books. Okay. So, yes, they're tax dodgers, and maybe they learned it from, maybe Hillary got some insight when she was giving those speeches to Goldman Sachs. Story number 1, White House sending troops to Iraq on security mission. President Obama sending more troops to Iraq as U.S. military action heats up. The contingent is estimated to be around 300 service members, primarily special forces, who are being sent on a security mission ostensibly to protect U.S. diplomatic personnel in the Green Zone and elsewhere. With the battle raging in Iraq between government forces and highly effective rebels, the likelihood those forces will see action increases. ISIS is by all accounts heading for Baghdad in the Green Zone, where the remaining American officials and soldiers who were not evacuated are. Obama says he wants political reforms. That's the sort of compromise here. And what political reforms or political plans from the Iraqi government Obama wants has never been made clear. It seems more like a pretext for a talking point to justify military intervention to the U.S. media and public in the event the carrier Obama has moved into the Persian Gulf is used to launch airstrikes and more drones are sent in. It also remains unclear as to who the real beneficiaries will be. The U.S. will be bombing in support of Iranian troops to protect the central government primarily aligned with Iran. Fortunately, the usual suspects are already hitting the airwaves to promote America's next imperial faceplant. Yay! We just don't learn. And that's the top 10 at 10. If you have a story you'd like me to feature on the top 10 at 10, please tweet me at DanSWright and be sure to read all the stories at 5doglake.com. Thanks for watching. See you later.